Welcome to the third part of this video. Welcome to the third part of this video. And please, if you haven't watched the first and the second, please go and do so before you watch this third one, and so that you can be able to understand it. Okay. Now, listen very well. You cannot give what you don't have. Is that true? You cannot give what you don't have. If you're asking for 1,000 cedis from me, okay, let's say 1 million naira, and I don't have it, there is no way I can give it because I don't have it. So you cannot give what you don't have. Now, the word GB was not associated to the Yorubas. The Yorubas had no GB in their dialect. They had no GB in their alphabet. I said the Yorubas had no GB in their dialect. They had no GB in their alphabet. How then were you having communities like Igbo, UGBO? How then were you having communities like Igbo, IGBO, when you had no GB in your alphabet? I am listening. I need your scholars to come forth. Let's have a debate. How then were you having communities bearing GB when you had no GB in your alphabet? Now, look at this. Look at this. This is the Yoruba alphabet. This is the Yoruba alphabet. The recent one. That is why you're seeing GB. That's the recent Yoruba alphabet. That is why you're seeing GB. Okay? Now, let's read this article. It says, the Yoruba alphabet is either of two Latin alphabets used to write the Yoruba language, one in Nigeria and one in neighboring Benin. The Nigerian Yoruba alphabet is made up of 25 letters without C, Q, V, X, Z, but with the additions of E, O, S, and GB. Okay, so read it from the screen. However, many of the excluded consonants are present in several dialect forms of Yoruba, including V, Z, and other diagrams like CH, GH, and GW. Central Yoruba dialect also have two extra vowels that are allophones of I and U. It is somewhat unusual that in Nigeria, the letter P usually transcribes KP, being P, only in restricted situations like onomatopoeia. The Beninese alphabet is similar, without C, Q, V, X, Z, and the additions of E, this, GB, SH, and KP. Now, what I want to point out here is, look at this. But with the additions of E, O, S, and GB, additions of GB, the word GB was added to Yoruba alphabet. It was added to Yoruba alphabet. That means they didn't have it. Where did they copy it from? They copied it from the Aborigines, the owners of the word GB. That is where they copied that word from. Are you hearing me? They had no GB in their alphabet. They added it. It was added. Now, you come down, the people of Benin Republic, you also find out that they also added GB. GB was also added to the Benin Republic because, you know, the Yoruba share ancestry. They have some Yorubas in Nigeria and Yorubas in Benin Republic, so that you don't say that maybe they got their distinct from Benin Republic or whatever. They are telling you that even the GB was also added to the Benin Republic alphabet. So how come you never had GB in your alphabet, but you had communities bearing GB long before the arrival of Oyo Empire? Communities that were older than Oyo Empire bearing GB, but you had no GB in your alphabet. How come? I'm asking. How come? Who did you copy the GB from? The owners of the word GB, the speakers of the word GB, the Igbos. The Igbos answer GB as name. They answer GB as name of place, communities. They use GB as a means of expression, communication, and also even saying good night. Even greeting, they use GB. The Igbos use GB on daily basis. They are the owners of that word, GB. For those of you that misspell the Igbo, instead of Igbo, IGBO, you spell it as EBO and all that. By 21st, I will explain the reason why it is so to you. I will explain that. How come you had communities bearing GB when you had no GB in your alphabet? Now look at the Igbo alphabet. Although I will not talk about it today, I will talk about it from the 21st. On the 21st, I will talk about the Igbo alphabet and everything you need to know about the Igbos. Now, you find out that the Igbo alphabet has GB. It has G8. It has GW. It has the Igbo alphabet has all the G, the GB. It's there. So I am done with this video. I will not continue further. And for those of you that is asking, some of you might be wondering, okay, if you say that those communities were founded by the Igbos, yes, which of course, those communities were all Igbo communities. They were all founded by the Igbos, yes. All those Igbo communities in Yoruba land were founded by the Igbos. I say so. Some of you will ask, oh, are they speaking Igbo? Are they answering Igbo names and all that? What happened to them? They were assimilated. Those people were assimilated. They were emasculated. That is what happened to them. The other time I talk about usurper. Don't forget the meaning of that word. Now I am reading it again. Look at what happened to those people that founded those things. The same thing that happened to Obatala, the Ife owner, the person that owns the Ife, Ile-Ife, what you know today as Ile-Ife, Obatala, the Ugbo people. The same thing that happened to them. They were displaced. They were fought. They were chased away from their ancestral land, from their ancestral plane, from their ancestral place. That is what happened to them. That is why you have Olubo of Igbo, Olubo of Ubo. That is the king of Ubo community. Olubo. They call it, the Yorubas call it Olubo. Olubo of Ubo. We know what is Olubo. Ubo is farm. Olubo. Yes, we know what it is. So let me explain. Let me get this word to you. Usurper. Usurper is someone who wrongfully or illegally seizes and holds a position of power, authority, or property without the legal right to do so. Do you understand that? Now, the term is mostly frequently used to describe a person who takes over a throne or government position from a rightful leader through force or deceit. This is the same thing that happened to the Ile-Ife people, the Ife people, the Ubo people. By Queen Moremi and Oduduwa, this is the same thing that happened to all those aboriginal or indigenous Igbos. They were emasculated. They were displaced. They were assimilated. This is what happened to them. For those of you who will have that question to ask, that is what happened to them. I'm done with this video. I'll be doing more. I've not talked about Ile-Ife and so many others. I will talk about it. I hope you enjoyed it.